Hi class, welcome to IS340. I'm Professor Fahmi Jalani. Today we'll be covering chapter 11 on improving decision making and managing knowledge. So as we covered in the previous chapter, we talk about how business value is there to improve decision making. What's the value? So decision is made in all level, especially in organization. Some could be common, routine, okay, and no matter how small the decision, does contribute on a larger scale in terms of cost. As we can see in this next example, where here we have, for example, the account managers decided to allocate support to most of the valuable customer, and this number of years, and value of decision is about 100,000, and from there it rose. Okay, this could be in terms of 12% or 1.2 million. Okay, predict call center management. Okay, 4 years, so decision making you get technically so more demand, so will lead to more sales, so 600,000, and the list goes on. So types of decision making, we have unstructured, structured, and semi-structured. And here we see unstructured, for example, in the could be in the senior management, basically non-routine, and there's no agreed procedure. For example, structured, repetitive, and routine. It could be at the bottom level of operational management. Semi-structured would be middle management. In terms of, for example, middle management deciding on the budget. So here we see a diagram of decision making. From the bottom, structured, we have operation manager, for example, restocking, credit to customer. Okay, semi-structured middle management in terms of budget. Okay, marketing plan, new website. Unstructured, senior management. Okay, new market entry, for example, budget. Okay, long distance goal. So next, cover on the process. Here we have basically the 4 steps. First, we have intelligence, identifying, discovering. Next, designing, basically the various solution. From there, what's the alternative, the choices, and last but not least, implementation. Okay. And we can see here the flow. Right. Other than that, we do have, for example, high velocity decision making, which is automated. Here we have, for example, in stock exchange, electronic stock exchange. Those of you who play stocks or Bitcoin, you could be selling it at a certain price that you want and buying at a certain price. Okay, you can sell it to auto. Other than that, it's accurate, comprehensive, fairness, speedy, efficiency, coherence, and due process. Moving along, we have business intelligence environment. It's pretty much at 6, from data, BI, analytics, managerial, platform, and user interface. Here we see how's the layout. Okay, BI, we have things that cover from database, warehouse, data mart, analytics, statistical, data mining, which is quite common today, or data analysis. Okay, managerial strategy. Okay, forecast, and the platform. We did cover this MIS, DSS, decision, ESS. Okay, and last but not least, moving on to the user interface. Capabilities. We will talk about reports. For example, we have a production report. This is basically based on industrial standard. For example, ISO. Okay. Parameterized report, pivot table. How's the sales going? Dashboard, scorecard. Right. Ad hoc query, drill down, forecast, what if scenario. Okay. Some example. Okay. Example, look at sales forecast, performance, cross-selling, cycle time. Other things do include call center, right? Next, we have predictive analytics, more statistical analytic, where data are extracted and used for future trends. An organization could have data from last year's sales, and they will compare it to the same month and see and predict what's the sales going to be, and from there they are able to forecast it. Okay? And for example, to put more manpower, more time, and they are usually 65 to 90% accurate. Big data analytics is quite a new thing, and up and coming. Uses big data to predict for social and media, consumer transactions, senior and machine output. Okay, here we have eBay, for example, to predict affinities for item not immediately obvious, and also it can be used in smart city. This is basically to inform utilities what's the power usage, for example, in certain areas, for example in winter. Okay, transportation operation, healthcare delivery, and public safety. Operation intelligence analytics, day-to-day decision monitoring. You can find it on sensors on trucks, vehicles. Those of you who drive could be a lane change assistant, for example, or blind spot mirror, and also IoT. GIS and location analytics next, where utilities companies will use, for example, data from existing area to, for example, increase the power supply, for example. Okay, especially in the winter. Okay, GIS. Okay, in terms of location. Having said that, companies do today, you can work using your smart devices. Companies like Uber, Lyft, DoorDash are using it. And today there is technology that allows you to do that as compared to maybe 10 years ago. Okay. Here we see a diagram on business intelligence user. Okay. Capabilities, product, report, parameterized report, dashboard, scores. So on the left side we have power user, producer, 20% of employees, IT developers, super user, analytics, and casual users. These are basically 80% of employees. Next we have DSS, or decision support system. Okay. So these are basically used by super user what if scenario. It's very sensitive, and you can do reverse engineering, which is backward sensitive, uh, pivot tables. Okay, so let's take a look at the example here. So we have here sales, and what's the break-even cost, for example, right? On top of that, we have pivot table. Okay, you can use from Microsoft Excel. So here we see online training. Okay. So as for senior management, decision support, we have executive support system, or ESS, balance scorecard. This is basically to measure KPI in terms of financial, process, customer. So the next diagram we see a framework, okay, where the firm strategy, we have financial, business process, learning and growth, and customer. Next we have BPM, or business performance management. This is basically a management methodology, okay, differentiation, low cost producer, and it's combined with ESS, right? And we have capability for drilling down. Moving along, we have GDSS, or Global Decision Support System. It's interactive. Those of you who have used it, maybe in classroom, where there's a question and everybody has a chance to vote. Okay, and it's very collaborative. Okay. Next we have intelligence technique, or AI. Okay, which include, okay, expert system, which case-based, fuzzy logic, neural network, genetic, intelligent agents, which we be talking about it next. So first, take a look at expert system. This is basically knowledge base, depending on thousands of rules. Okay, and it search in the engine. Okay. Next, we take a look at example. Okay, where we have a mathematical formula here, and this is basically making decision for payment of a car, okay, or giving credit. Okay. Next, we have case-based reasoning, more on knowledge and past experiences of human being. Okay, could be hypothesis. Having said that, sometimes it could be bias. Okay, where we have stored cases in a big database, largely used for medical diagnostic system. Okay, those who, as when we go to visit our GP, there are a few questions that they will ask, and from there they will hypothesize what could likely be our diagnosis. So how case reasoning works? So we have a problem, search database. So from there they have a case database, ask the user, okay, find the closest fit, okay, then modify it to be better, be successful. If he has solved the problem, if no, he will repeat. Okay. Next we have fuzzy logic. The word say fuzzy itself, there's no concrete solution to it. It's more like example, cold versus cool, which we can see in, for example, in our refrigerator, okay, or our AC. Having said that, the rules are flexible. If then scenario, here we example of the Japanese subway system, where they use fuzzy logic to accelerate or decelerate smoothly, so that passenger do not have to hold the stand. Okay, right. Where we can see the diagram here, where temperature and versus norm, while cold adjustment is quite smooth. Right. Next, we have neural networks, more on biological, which is the brain, learning and training pattern, solving complex problem. More on AI. Okay. So here we see a diagram how it works. They have the input layers, hidden layers, and output. Okay. Next, we have genetic algorithm. It's basically automated solution, evolutionary biology, ones and zero, complex problem. This more applicable to, for example, in the lab, okay, where scientists or lab researcher could use it for chromosome, for example, which you can see here in the next example. For example, we have the length, width, weight, and what's the fitness level to check decoding the chromosome, okay, and evaluation of the chromosome. Moving along, we have intelligent agent, which work in the background. Okay. For example, we have Procter & Gamble here. Okay. To emulate behavior. Okay. For example, supply and demand. We can see here the diagram. Okay. Supplier, retail store, and distributor. Okay. All this information I tied up to predict. Next, we have knowledge management. This is basically a business process. Learning effectively and efficiently. Okay. So there's three kinds of knowledge if we talk about: structure, semi-structure, and tacit knowledge. It's basically through experience. Okay. To enhance, we have enterprise. This is basically technically capability, repository, and semi-structure. For example, email. Okay. In terms of making decision, right? If you can see on the next diagram example. Okay. So we have, for example, user, unified repository. Okay, with all the data that is being deposit. So from there, user able to retrieve or okay to search the data that they are required. Locating and sharing. Okay, this is basically part of enterprise knowledge. Okay. Also, we have LMS or learning management system. This is basically, for example, D2L or Blackboard, where usually educational institute uses it as their intranet. So we have KWS or knowledge work system. This is for knowledge worker, specialized tools. Okay. You can see here in the next diagram where we have external knowledge base, software, user interface, and hardware. Example of knowledge work system, we have a computer aided design or CAD. CAD are basically software to, for example, design your house, for example, or even design a car, or design a workstation, and then from there they can use it to print it out or build a system. So we have VR, virtual reality, those are in games, where the user is pretty much inside a virtual world, and also augmented reality, where today we can see apps where user could visualize. For example, if they are planning to paint their wall or put a furniture, they can use their phone to imagine that the color that they want on the wall, and even furniture that they want is in a certain area in their living room. And these are basically knowledge work system. So that's pretty much it for the class today. If you have any question, please feel free to email me, and stay safe. Thanks. Bye.